Right, I just want to go over a couple of little, what I think are trick things about this buggy. First off, it's a link pin or kingpin front beam. Now, when I first started building this buggy years ago, and like I say years ago, it's a bit of a long story, but yeah, it was over 25, maybe 30 years ago when I first built this buggy. Anyway, I wanted it to sort of be an off-roader. The crack was, I had a dog and I had a motorbike, and I used to ride around town with the dog zipped up in my coat, kind of sat on the tank on my little 50cc scooter. And then the dog warden and the old Bill, local bobbies, kept saying to me, they kept catching me and saying, look, I can't keep letting you get away with this, stop doing it. So anyway, and I was into motocross scrambling, so and it was like, right, okay, so I need something that's four wheels, but like a motorbike. What's out there? And so this is back in the 90s. And well, there's a beach buggy. Okay, so anyway, that's why I ended up with a beach buggy. that's the story of that. So I wanted it kind of for off-roading. I didn't want a low-ride a beach buggy. I wanted it for off-roading. So the kingpin was the strongest front suspension because the ball joints would pop out and wear out and various other whatnots. Great for the street, but not great for off-roading. Kingpin was the way to go. But I wanted IRS, the independent rear suspension, obviously, because then you can jack it up and not get your camber and so you're not getting bump steer. So that's why I ended up with IRS rear, kingpin front. That's why I got this chassis built for that. So back to the front chassis. Also, because I wanted it strong, I wanted wide 5 wheels, not 4 stud or narrow 5. I wanted the wide 5 because again, stronger. So that's why I've got the kingpin with the wide 5, and then I got the strengthened tie rods. A lot stronger than stock, so they don't flex or bend. Now a trick is to insert the old tie rod or a lump of steel in the middle of that to make them stronger. That's an old school trick, but these, as I remember, I haven't checked actually because I haven't taken them off and pulled that, and it was a long time ago since I put them on, so I can't remember, but I don't think they're hollow. I think they're solid and they're just drilled out on the ends. In fact, I know they are, because I just went to set the track in day before yesterday and they only screwed in so far and then stopped. So they obviously bottomed out, so I needed to, if I wanted them to go in further, I'd have had to cut a bit off the ball joint. So yes, they are. They're solid and threaded. That's why they're stronger. Also, what I've done on the front is cut the lower beam, and I rotated that just under ½ an inch, somewhere between 1/4 inch and ½ inch. So from my reckoning, because the buggy is obviously a lot lighter than a Beetle, you don't need the preload and the spring strength. And everyone knows it's got a buggy. The front can be a harsh ride. So it's kind of set out for dual action springs. So it sits on the top beam. That has your normal stock preload. The bottom one isn't preloaded, it just sits neutral. So the moment it starts moving, it's under compression, but when it sits flat, it's neutral. There's no preload on it. Well, the top has got the preload. So even now, with no body on it, you can see It's sat on the bump stops. That's both sides. And this is the problem. If you've got no down travel, the moment you hit a pothole, the whole body, the whole buggy drops into that pothole because the wheel can't drop into it and then soak that bump up. The whole buggy drops in and then it hits the other side of the pothole and then bang, you bounce back up. As well as that being harsh. Well, with the body on, no fuel tank and that, but with the body on, this gives me, I would say, quarter to nearly half-inch gap. Once everything's on there with the bonnet, the fuel tank in there, full fuel tank, I'm probably going to have a good half-inch, maybe a 3/4. I don't know if I really want that much, because you've got to imagine leverage. So by the time it gets down there, 3/4 inch here is like an inch or so at the wheel, or a couple of inches maybe. So then you're losing a lot of travel. The way it sits at the minute, it's got a really, really nice stance. There's enough up travel that it doesn't look jacked up, but it's got the down travel as well. So that's my little trick, what I consider to be at the front there. Now I've made my own bump stops because somewhere along the line this front beam has lost its steering stops. It lost the steering damper. It had one of them, got it in one of these boxes somewhere. The bolt-on mount, didn't like it. Done, just a clamp. Well, I've made my own mount. Got the damper to sit as low as possible, so everything's flat, to help with all the forces. It doesn't touch this at all. It's sweet. So that's that. Then obviously you've got the Goodwood hoses. Got to have them. It's got the front support mounts here to just help with the weight of the fuel tank. Once that's in the body, it stops that bouncing around. So what else we got? Going back. Okay, yeah. Now it's got the dual circuit brakes rather than single circuit. Obviously, much better, much safer. And also, the reservoir means that even though they've cut into the body, they didn't need to, because that reservoir clears and it sits on top of the master cylinder. Perfect, that's what you want. You don't want to mess around with the old single circuit one. Pedals, stock accelerator. Put a little bolt under the accelerator so that literally bottoms out, so you're not stressing the cable. And I've done that, and it literally at exactly the same point, the carbs bottom out, that bottoms out. So again, perfect. That's just perfect for me. Love these gear sticks. I do like the T-bar, but that feels so good in the hand. Just the ball, I don't know, and that's, yeah. Handbrakes, can't see, but under there is, let's see if I can pull that up. Yep, there they are. I've got the cone splicer. So when you use these, a little tip. Now the first set I got, man, once I put them on, and this is with a sand rail I built, and I didn't cut the cables quite short enough, if I remember right. And I was adjusted right down. The handbrake still worked, but I would have rather the screws been at the top of adjustment and have something to go than be at the bottom. And I tried moving them because they're on a Morse taper as well. So once that locks in, it does not let go. But you've got to be very careful when you're installing. You've got to make sure that cone can come out the bottom. I've got this time round, I've actually had to order 3 pairs because I've knackered them. I've put them in and the cone hasn't quite come out the bottom, so and then it wedges up when you tighten it, and it won't go any tighter, but it's not clamping that cable. It's just not clamping it because it's not coming through. The moment them cones come through the bottom of that Morse taper, then you can tighten it and then it bites down on that cable. Once it bites down, it does not let go. So I can see why there are people out there that have had problems, and like I say, I had problems this time round, but I knew how good they were once you got them working. So yes, it did cost me a couple of quid to get it right by ordering. This is, like I say, this is the third pair. I did manage to get the left hand one to clamp, but the right one wouldn't pop through the bottom. But yeah, so they work great now, so I'm happy with them. So Raptor line, this is all Raptor line, that's nice. That's not what I'm talking about, that's fit and finish. Right, so then we get the gearbox mounts. So it's got the clamp set. And normally these are, you've got a bottom plate that pinches around the bottom, which clamps onto this one here at the top. And then you've got these sticking out and bolts through there, and it's really ugly. So what I did was, got the old welder out, and I welded the bottom under bracing. I welded them in, so that top brace is the only one that is removable. So that's much nicer, much neater. It doesn't interfere with any of the brake lines. It's just very, very clean. But it holds the gearbox secure. Again, same with the Bellhausen one. I didn't have to mess with. That sits fine. That just does its job. But this front one, yeah, it's a bit of a faff. But if you do it like that, money. IRS rear. Haven't got any fancy CVs because it just sits stock. What we got there? This is about, what's that? 5, nearly 10 mil on the bump stops. I actually got these welded on again because this is another off-road trick when you jack it up. Where we are? There we are. So little piece of metal welded on, threaded, coming up to the top one. And what the idea is get some sheet, get some flat bar that comes across, and you bolt that on, and it stops your spring plate popping off your bump stop or your bottom stop when you get air when you're doing jumps. But I'm not taking this buggy to anything like that now. Yes, the idea when I built it was off-roading, but that's not what I'm looking at now. But that's why I got them on there. It's an old school trick again. Standard gearbox, don't even know what that's out of. It's just a gearbox. Goodrich hoses again. So then moving on to the engine, what we got? We got a lightened flywheel, 1641 barrels and pistons. Empty heads with the large valves and the slightly stronger springs. But they're not dual springs, they're still single springs, but they're meant to be slightly stronger. And the head's been machined, and the intakes and that have been slightly large and all machined, whatever. Not for massive horsepower, but just so it can actually breathe, you know, just so it's not stifled. I've kept the cadrons. I wasn't gonna. They'll do for now because I just want to drive the thing. Eventually, I am going to go to, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go to, I keep saying I'm going to do or I'm not going to do, and then I'm reverting to other things. But as we all know, nothing's written in concrete, and the best laid plans of mice and men. But at the minute, because it's what I've got, just running on the cadrons, but I will get the compressor house supercharger. I just love the idea of that. Sidewinder exhaust, flamethrower, distributor, alternator, flamethrower coil. Again, all performance parts, but not for a race engine, but just to bring it a bit more up to date and let the engine breathe and do its thing. because we've had a lot of progress since 1930 or 40 or whenever it was that these engines were designed. Yes, I have got a serpentine belt. Don't know if I made a mistake with that. I've heard bad things since I've bought it. I like the idea of it, obviously. I mean, you can adjust it. You ain't got to shim it. It's a much cleaner, nicer affair. But then there's the thing of it doesn't slip, which apparently is meant to. I haven't got a welded and balanced fan. But then I'm not going to be smashing this through the gears and taking it up to 5,000-6,000 or whatever the red line is on the Beetles. You know what I mean? This is a cruiser now. It's not a race machine. So I'm hoping, that I don't have to worry about the fan. When I go compressor, then yes. When I get the blower on the supercharger, I will get the welded and balanced fan. But for now, I'm hoping I'm going to get away with it. Aluminium rocker covers with the rubber gaskets. Now, it has not dropped a drop of oil. All I've done is just test firing the engine, building up engine pressure. It hasn't done a mile yet. It hasn't even been out this garage. But it's built oil pressure, it circulates. I've got one oil drip from the sump plate. Might even be one on there. But that's because I reused the strainer thing that goes in there. Now when I took it off, it got kind of caught around the studs and got a bit bent and buckled. I hammered it flat, I put it back on. I didn't use, which I have now managed to get. Now this stuff, gasket cinch, if you're working with a VW engine, you need this. Got a filter on it now. I did have some trouble with this when I first put it on. It was piddling oil out, and I realised that what it is, you can't see, but just down here, my finger, there's a flat bit that just touches the engine. No, I can't get the camera angle on it. So what it was doing, it was just levering it over a bit and not allowing the gaskets to seal. So I filed the face of the aluminium housing away a little bit just to allow that to move over. Bang, bingo, no problems. So you expect that of all these aftermarket parts, they never fit correctly. So a little bit of adaptation, perfect. What else we got? Yeah, doghouse fan. Nothing special. Got another one of them for the clutch cable. Works a treat. No slippage at all. But then the clutch isn't exactly heavy, so you shouldn't have to worry about it. What other little nice tricks have I got? I've got a new set of wheels in that box, ready to get banded again, because I don't like these ones. That camera will pick it up, but you can see the weld seam. I don't know when these were made, or where, or how, probably in someone's garage. But I picked these wheels up again back in, oh God, 1990 something, before 2000. When you didn't have internet, it was all done on magazines, and I can't believe how lucky I got. They are the perfect offset stuff. They are bang on for this buggy shell. They sit so good. The front ones, they've been banded in a weird way. They've actually got a band around them. I'm going to repaint these, obviously. And I will do the same with these. I will get new front ones eventually, so they're all banded the same and look good. Yeah, but I'm going to get the rear wheels done, get them made into a decent set. But these will do for now to get me on the road, get me through this season, whatever. Now moving on to steering. It's got steering adapter, and yes, it flexes, and of course, being stupid in the moment of blindness, I didn't realise. The reason why it flexes is because this then connects under the bonnet into that bracket, so it doesn't actually need what I was going to do, another triangulation coming down here to the bottom to triangulate that to stop that wiggling. But what I did notice once I got it all set up and I've done a test thing, it still wasn't solid. So I welded bar across, got all the angles right so it sits in there nice. What is that, a 42mm exhaust clamp. So now I'm held in 2 points. So that stops, even once the bracket is all solid, the steering bar still had flex in it. Well, now it's got 2 places that the whole thing is so rigid. So yeah, I'm over the moon with that. And I think that's about it really. So yeah, there's a couple of nice little tricks. It's not massively, I suppose it's kind of custom, all beach buggies are. But yeah, it's got some nice little touches that I think just suit it.